All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the post-game show, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. I'm Dan Tanner, your host for In the Paint, your Altitude Sports Radio Denver Nuggets post-game show. Well, everybody, we just witnessed an absolute offensive masterclass here at Ball Arena tonight with the Denver Nuggets. They were phenomenal, especially from two-point range. The Nuggets shot 79% from two-point range, which is staggering. In fact, they were flirting with the NBA record for overall shooting percentage throughout this game until late in the game. You had a lot of the end of the bench guys come in, miss some shots, and it took their percentage down, but they still shoot just under 66% from the field in this game. They had 88 points in the paint, which is absolutely insane. Nikola Jokic doesn't have to play in the fourth quarter. He scores 40 points on 15 of 22 shooting from the field in just the first three quarters of this basketball game. He was tremendous again tonight. Joker was hitting some wild shots here tonight. There was one from the corner where he had to reset. The shot clock was winding down. I have a perfect angle, actually, where I'm sitting right here from Connor McGahee's hockey booth. And I mean, it damn near crossed the top of the backboard and went in. And then he had another one where it got taken away, but, just kind of hucks up a three-point attempt. It goes in, called the foul on the floor. But this was an absolute offensive masterclass from the Denver Nuggets tonight. Coach Malone just got back from his presser. He couldn't have been more happy with the offensive output this team has shown recently over their 7-game winning streak. Now, I've talked about on this show, and I've heard a lot of people talk about the fact that the Nuggets are dead last in the NBA in three-point shooting. And again, tonight they weren't spectacular from three-point range by any means. They were just 8 of 25 shooting from the field for 32%. But Malone just said something in his post-game presser that I thought was really interesting. He said he's been hearing a lot of people say that the Nuggets need to diversify their offense more. Essentially what he's saying is he's been hearing that the team needs to shoot more threes. He said, man, forget that. Like, why would we change anything? The offense is humming right now. And you can't really argue with them because they are just blowing teams out of the water on the offensive side of the basketball. I mean, they score 146 points tonight. I mean, I kind of get what Coach Malone's saying. Why would you change anything right now? Now, who knows? During the playoffs, we'll see if they need to make some sort of adjustment in that area. But, like, man, what they're doing right now inside the painted area has got to be one of the best seasons in NBA history in that regard. And like I said earlier, Christian Braun scores 26 points tonight. 22 of those came from inside the paint. Christian Braun is among the league leaders in points in the paint, a guard. So that just tells you how dominant the Nuggets have been inside the painted area. He's also one of the league leaders in fast break points as well. And, that's not surprising to me because Christian sprints down the floor every single time when the Nuggets get the ball. So what an absolutely dominant performance. Again, no Michael Porter Jr. tonight. I talked about this Saturday night after the Nuggets win in Phoenix. I would be surprised if we see MPJ on Wednesday. I mean, why not just give him this game Wednesday and the week off they have for the All-Star break to really make sure the hamstring is good to go. Same with Russell Westbrook. Why would you play him now? Because, well, and also what's been happening, the Nuggets secondary players have been producing so well that it hasn't forced the organization into questionable decisions as to when to bring guys back from injuries. Maybe a little bit too early. Maybe in the past they would have panicked just a little bit with the lack of depth. But, I mean, Zeke Naji, I thought, had another productive game tonight. Christian Braun, again, I know he was starter, but fantastic. Julian Strawther, really, really solid game tonight from Julian. Now, obviously, he gets the start because Russ is out as well, but this team has more depth than people think. They really do. And my player of the game tonight, it's not Christian Brown, although it could be. It's not Nikola Jokic, although it could have been. My player of the game tonight is Jalen Pickett. I mean, I thought he was outstanding tonight. Malone actually compared him to like a young Bob Cousy with his style of play, which I thought was fascinating. He played almost 30 minutes tonight, 6 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from beyond the arc, but that's okay. That's not why he's out there. 9 assists, 0 turnovers. You heard that right. 9 assists for Jalen Pickett, 0 turnovers. You know Coach Malone loves that. And I tell you what, if Russell Westbrook wasn't on this team, Jalen Pickett would be in the rotation, like the regular rotation. That's how well he's playing right now. And again, Malone got into that, and he said, like, the trust that everybody on the team has for some of these secondary backup into the bench guys, if you will, really resonates and helps them move along and really stay confident and be able to produce when they get their name called. Jalen Pickett was absolutely fantastic tonight. And, this is a really, really good developmental sign for Denver because they really need a reliable, productive backup point guard to lead that second unit. And this is something I've talked about over the last couple of games since Russ has been out. Really, Jalen Pickett's been getting a lot more playing time, and he looks like he knows what he's doing out there. He's running the offense very effectively. He was playing a lot with Nikola Jokic tonight. They had a little two-man game going, which was fantastic to see. You had Jalen Pickett dishing dimes to Joker in the painted area for easy buckets, like wide open. Malone compared him to Bob Cousy. I see a little bit of Andre Miller in Jalen Pickett's game. Now, I think Jalen's probably significantly more athletic than Andre was during his time in the NBA. And that's no slight against Andre. They called Andre Miller the sort of the YMCA style basketball player. I don't think Pickett's necessarily, kind of an old school YMCA type player, but he's got a lot of savviness in his game for a young player. I mean, he's only in his second year. So that was excellent to see tonight. And, Hunter Tyson is a work in progress. So I'm not going to go that far in saying that he is going to be on this team for the, foreseeable future. Who knows? But going back to last year's draft, as much grief that I've seen given to Calvin Booth, he's made some poor choices, but he's also made some really, really good choices. And 2 of those 3 players from last year's draft, Julian Strawther and Jalen Pickett, right now at least, are main contributors on this team. Now, Julian's going to be in the rotation down the stretch and into the playoffs. If the Nuggets are fully healthy, I suspect Jalen Pickett's minutes will dwindle to possibly 0. But it would not surprise me at all if Jalen Pickett gets a lot of run, even when Russell Westbrook comes back and is playing in consistent amount of games. That would not surprise me because of what he's shown Coach Malone. And the fact that he had 9 assists tonight, no turnovers. I mean, Malone loves that. I mean, those are the kind of players he's looking for. So it would not surprise me whatsoever, even when Russell Westbrook comes back, at least for the regular season, to see Jalen Pickett get more run and more opportunities with this team, specifically the second unit. He's been the one guy on this team this year that I think has really been effective at running the offense on the second unit. So that was absolutely outstanding to see. So as always, feel free to leave me your comments in the comment section. I'll try and get to those as we go throughout the show. Jamal Murray tonight obviously gets ejected early on in the fourth quarter. Trying to be careful here because it's my opinion that NBA referees are some of the softest, most sensitive people on the face of the earth. I will just say that. And it's just very interesting to see the NBA, who is struggling with ratings, kick a guy out of the game for staring down an opponent after a made basket. Now, okay, it's not very sportsmanlike, sure. This is professional basketball. And I'll tell you what, the NBA is not doing itself any favors by kicking stars out of games for little stuff like that. That did not warrant an ejection. Now, you could also say, well, he shouldn't have gotten a technical earlier on in the game on just a ridiculous non-call on Nikola Jokic, by the way. I'm not a blame the ref guy. I really am not. And I can't stand people that constantly go to, oh, it was the refs. The refs suck. But tonight, the refs had a bad night tonight. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Malone got a technical. Jamal got 2. DJ was screaming at the refs what felt like half of the game. And I just do not understand the NBA being okay with refs kicking stars out of games for little crap like that. For Jamal literally just looking at a dude. Is it poor sportsmanship? I guess they could classify it that way. I view it as more of just being competitive and sort of heat of the moment and just let it go. Now, if it escalates from that point on, okay, I get it. If it's going to start the teams to really go at each other in an egregious way, then fine. But that's the kind of stuff that I really think the league is doing a major disservice to its fans, to the players, people that came here and paid for tickets tonight. Now, granted, it was early in the fourth quarter, but so what? That's the kind of stuff that just drives me up a wall when it comes to the softness of NBA referees. That's the one thing where don't make it about you. That's kind of my rule for the refs. Don't make it about you. It's about the players, it's about the game, and it's about the fans that paid to be here and that are watching it on TV at home. So the ejection was ridiculous, in my opinion. It never should have happened. And you know what? If the NBA is going to continue to do that, then I wouldn't be surprised if their ratings continue to kind of tank. Now they're on the rise a little bit, and I do think the overall product of the league is in a good place. A lot of people are contributing it to the 3-point shot. Maybe that's true. Like the reason for the viewership being down because there's just so many 3-pointers. I don't know. I guess here in Denver, we've kind of been isolated from that a little bit because the Nuggets don't shoot that many threes. Like they're the only team in the NBA that really hasn't followed the trend of just jacking up 40 plus threes every single night. They really haven't taken the Golden State Warriors, now Boston Celtics model of jacking up 40 or 50 threes a night. So here we've been a little bit inside of a bubble when it comes to that style of play because the Nuggets just don't play that way. The Nuggets play more of an old school, grind it out in the painted area style of basketball, which is more aesthetically pleasing. I will grant you that. But it's the stuff like we saw tonight where it really kind of irks me of a league struggling to draw viewership, and then you kick a guy out for staring a dude down. That doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, it didn't matter. The Nuggets were unbelievable tonight. I mean, this was a truly masterful performance on the offensive side of the ball for the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic was incredible per usual, but tonight even felt more so like he was really in his zone. And what was interesting about Joker's game tonight, he came out and he just, there's games where Joker will purposefully not shoot the ball and really just try to dish it off to his teammates to get them going. Not tonight. Joker came out and was trying to score right off the bat. He loves playing against DeAndre Ayton. That's a bad matchup for the Portland Trailblazers. And by the way, Donovan Clingan, who's like 7'2", watched him in the tourney last year. Very nice player. Not a huge threat from the outside, although he did hit a 3 tonight. He's just going to, pick and roll to the rim pretty much on every play. But I thought Donovan Clingan did a pretty good job on the offensive end tonight. In fact, he was 8 for 8. He didn't miss a shot. And he did hit his only 3-point attempt, and he was perfect from the line. So he literally didn't miss a shot tonight. Had 7 rebounds and 21 points. I believe that was a career high in points for Donovan Clingan, the rookie for the Portland Trailblazers. But my goodness, he had no chance on the defensive end. No chance at all. He could not figure out Nikola Jokic. It always amazes me, these guys that are 7'2" or bigger. I was actually just talking with Scotty and DMAC, and maybe y'all can help me out with this because I looked up Donovan Klingen's height, and it says he's 7'2". Some reports say he's 7'3". And from what I've looked up, Wemby is technically listed at 7'2". Now, Scott was saying he doesn't believe that for a second. Okay, it says 7'3", 7'3" right there. Okay. So at least as what they're listed, they're basically the same size. Now, Scott was saying he thinks Wemby's bigger than he's listed, and maybe that's the case. I mean, it's really hard to tell when one guy's 7'2" and the other 7'3", or vice versa. But the way that Nikola Jokic, that's why I was so excited last year to see how Nikola Jokic attacked Victor Wembanyama in the Nuggets' first ever game against the Spurs in Wemby's rookie season. I was really curious to see, would Nikola have to change anything in his game, specifically scoring the basketball? Passing, it's not going to change a whole lot. But would he have to change anything in his game to overcome that height difference? And I get it. Joker's 7 feet tall. Like, he's not, Earl Boykins out there or Facundo Campazzo. But those guys tower over even a guy like Nikola Jokic. What's been so incredible to see is that Nikola hasn't had to change his game at all. Even when going up against those guys that tower over him, he just finds a way. He does it with his footwork, with his vision, with his basketball IQ, and he finds a way to dominate the basketball game exactly how he does everybody else. It's just that is something that really has surprised me over the last couple of years, seeing Nikola Jokic go up against these just behemoths that have kind of popped up around the league, and he has not had to change his game whatsoever. So, all right, let's add our guy KJ into the program here. KJ Granderson, producer for the Morning Sprint. KJ, I was just talking about how excited I was last year to see Nikola Jokic's first game against Victor Wembanyama.
Mm-hmm.
Listed at 7'3". Scott was saying he doesn't believe that. He thinks he's taller, which he may be. I don't know. But I was really excited for that game because I really wanted to see, would Nikola have to change anything in his game to overcome? I get it, Joker's 7 feet, but he's still kind of like towered over guys like tonight, Donovan Klingen, and guys like Victor Wembanyama. Like, those dudes tower over even Joker, okay? Would he have to change anything in his game in order to sort of compensate for the height difference? What's amazed me is he hasn't had to change anything. He just plays exactly like he always plays, and he still finds a way to dominate, even with those behemoths at the center position. That's just incredible to me.
Well, I mean, and I don't have to tell you, Dan, Nikola embraces every challenge. He wants everyone to know that there's not a challenge that he'll face that he's not willing to go through. There's not anybody that comes, in his way that he's not willing to overcome. And honestly, I think the taller or the bigger the defender, I think the more Nikola is like, okay, I'm going to embrace this challenge. Like
against these guys, like I never would have thought that in a million years.
He plays way better. He plays way better. And so that's always been my thing when Nikola is like why? Why does he feel the need to raise his game versus an average center? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but someone like Hartenstein for OKC. He'll give him a typical 25, 12 and 12. But somebody like, Victor Wembanyama or Donovan Klingen is like 35, 20, and 20. He's like, he just raises his game to a whole nother level. And obviously he wasn't able to get a triple-double tonight. But if the game was closer and it was a little bit more competitive, we probably would have saw – I did not look this stat up before I got on, but we probably would have saw the first 50, 15, and 15 in NBA history.
Wow.
By a center.
I was thinking about this during the game. Like, what would Joker's stats look like, KJ, just this year, if he had to play in every fourth quarter where he didn't have to play in because the Nuggets were blowing teams out? I mean, I haven't counted. I don't have the exact number, but it's got to be close to 10 games where Nikola Jokic has not had to play in the fourth quarter. I mean, shoot, we've had like 5 over the last 10 games or something like that.
Easily.
What would his stats look like if he had to play in these fourth quarters? Like, and he's still leading the league in all these statistical categories or close to the top. That's just, man. And Joker was great tonight. So KJ, the Nuggets scored 88 points in the paint tonight. Christian Brown had 26. 22 of his points. Christian Brown, a guard, had 22 of his 26 points in the painted area. Malone just mentioned after the game, Christian is among the league leaders in points in the paint. That's a guard. So Malone also said, and we've talked about, do the Nuggets need to shoot more threes? Okay. And I've said probably, at some point, and mind you, this is when the team was struggling a little bit more. But Malone just said, I've heard that we need to diversify our offense more, which I'm assuming he means shoot more threes. Maybe he listens to this show. Maybe he listens to us.
Listen, man, it's a great show to listen to.
That's right. And he said, why in the hell would we do that? Our offense is humming. And, I'm kind of sitting in the press room listening to him like, I mean, he's kind of got a point. Like, why would you change anything right now? He doesn't care that they're last in the league in 3-point attempts. They just scored 146 points tonight. They've been elite on the offensive end. I got to tell you, man, I don't see a reason for this team, as long as they're humming along the way they are, to artificially shoot more 3-point attempts. Now, if it comes organically in a game, sure. But do you think they need to shoot more threes at this point? Because it's like, why? What would be the point? Unless the offense starts struggling.
Listen, I'm willing to backtrack. One thing KJ's big.
I was wrong too, man. I said it too. Look, we both said it.
Exactly. That's the one thing KJ has no problem doing is apologizing. So Malone, I bow down to the mighty Malone. I bow down to the mighty Malone because, look, if you see a strategy that's working, teams can't stop you in the paint. You're constantly cutting backdoor. You're constantly having players in the dunker spot. You have point guards, which I did not see Jalen Pickett doing what he was doing tonight, but he's able to find guys on the bounce pass and find guys in what we call the pocket pass. And just all of the different things the Nuggets can do when they drive is just very unique. It's very unique. There's not many teams in the league, if any other team, that can cut and drive and kick and find guys backdoor like the Denver Nuggets do. I think it's interesting that the Denver Nuggets have found this little weird recipe because, honestly, and it's something that me and you, we mentioned it in the past, but we didn't really dive too deep into it. The Nuggets have an offense that's set up for the playoffs. And I think it drives people crazy because regular season offense, I wouldn't say it requires you, but it makes you feel as if you have to shoot more threes. And honestly, me and you probably got caught up in that a little bit. We look around the league, everybody else is shooting threes, but I think the Nuggets understand who they are. They know their identity, though they act like they don't sometimes. They know their identity, and I think that's very important. Michael Malone has helped his team to make sure they understand that don't ever lose sight of your identity, because if you do, well, guess what? No one can find it but you. And I think the Nuggets understand that as long as Nikola is the head of the snake, they'll never be taking, 53s a game like the Boston Celtics.
I want to address my guy Kev here real quick. And Kev, appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. Yes, but our defense has sucked really bad, DT. Again, the Nuggets can't win another championship without defense. Look, the Nuggets defense hasn't been spectacular this year by any means, but here's what I will say about that, okay? The year the Nuggets won a championship, they were 15th in defensive rating, okay? Mm-hmm. They're 19th right now. So does that need to be higher? Probably, but they're not that far off, KJ. And mind you, one of their best defensive players in Aaron Gordon has missed, 20-plus games this year? Russell Westbrook, a fantastic defender, missing a bunch of games right now. Mm-hmm. I get what fans are saying when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And they're not wrong in having that concern because you are going to need to get stops in the playoffs. And you're not going to be able to score 146 points each night and just blow teams out. I get that. But first off, they're not that far off from where they were the year they won the championship, at least as far as defensive rating goes. And you might not score 146 every night in the playoffs, but could they average 120 in the playoffs?
It's possible.
I think so. I think so.
Possible.
With the way they're playing right now, why couldn't they?
It's definitely possible. That's the thing about it. The Nuggets have the type of offense that it can heat up like a microwave, and it doesn't take much. It doesn't take long. And think about it.
And it's sustainable. It's sustainable, their offense. It's not just jacking up threes. It's sustainable offense.
It's super sustainable, and they're doing it without MPJ, Russell Westbrook, and Peyton Watson. So if they put up a gajillion points tonight without those guys, imagine what this offense will look like when those three guys come back. So we got to also kind of keep a lot of this stuff into perspective. I don't want anybody to be sitting up here thinking like, oh, the sky's falling, oh, the Nuggets defense. The Nuggets defense, it will be fine. The Nuggets defense always kind of takes time to ramp up. It's the nature of who this team is. But if I could bring any ease to who's our guy that you brought up? Kevin. If I could bring any ease to our guy, Kevin, I did some research the other day. So going back to the championship season, I always study how do the Nuggets start to swing that pendulum between January and February. So I combined the dates. So a total of 28 games in the 22-23 season. They went 22-6 in that stretch. Last year, they had 26 games between January and February. They went 18-8. This year, they have a total of 29 games between January and February. And if I'm not mistaken, they're already 15-6. Wow. So the Nuggets they know when to start swinging. They know when to turn it on. I get frustrated because I hate that they know when to turn on the light switch, because I wish it wasn't that simple, but it is for them. And Kevin, if I'm being honest with you, my man, I wish defense mattered as much as it used to in the NBA. It just doesn't. If you can score, you can overcome a multitude of sins.
Yes, I agree with you partly. I do think it's harder to overcome in the playoffs. I do think it's harder to outscore teams on a nightly basis come playoff time. But sure. Like I said, and you mentioned this earlier, KJ, and I agree with you. The Nuggets offense is built for the playoffs. One of the biggest issues I had with the George Karl, Chauncey Billups, Carmelo Anthony era was the Nuggets were an elite offense in the regular season because they would just run teams out of the gym. I mean, you saw a lot more blowouts in Nuggets victories in the George Karl era than you do in the Michael Malone era. Well, the reason for that, or at least part of the reason for that, is because the Nuggets are, and I know they're one of the best fast break teams this year, but they're a much slower offense than those teams.
Right.
But they're elite at the half court. Well, when do you need the half court? When do you need to be able to execute? In the playoffs. That's what works in the playoffs. And that's going to help your defense slow things down a little bit as well. KJ, Jalen Pickett tonight, I thought was outstanding. And Malone just said after the game, if Russell Westbrook wasn't on this team, Jalen Pickett would be a regular in the rotation. Now, he didn't say starter, which I don't think he would be, but he said he'd be a regular in the rotation. And what I've seen from Jalen Pickett over the last week or two is that he really is the first time this year the Nuggets have had a floor general with the second unit, a guy that can come in and run the offense with the second unit effectively. I mean, he had 9 assists tonight, 0 turnovers. Malone loves that. I wouldn't be surprised if even when Russ comes back, he's not going to Jalen Pickett is not going to replace Russ. That's not what I'm saying. But, man, that's a tough decision for Malone as far as minutes go and where to divvy those out when it comes to Jalen Pickett. How do you not play the guy right now, specifically as the pure point guard with the second unit because he's running that offense so well? What have you seen from Jalen Pickett over the last week or so, KJ? Because to me, he's been very, very impressive.
No, absolutely. In just a second, I'll respond back to what you said. But Jalen Pickett has been absolutely fantastic. He sees the court well. He's comfortable with the pick and roll. He knows when to kind of lean to his left or lean to his right, depending on what the defenders are doing. And if he catches them cheating, he'll just set them up for the lob if it's DJ. Or if it's somebody like, MPJ, he'll just, quickly drive in and then just put a nice spin on the behind the back pass, and then MPJ, he does what he does. And so he reads the court well. He has great court vision. He is able to push the ball in the fast break. He's able to just do a multitude of things that I think just makes him super versatile. And I love what Katie and Marlo called him on the broadcast. He's a back to the basket point guard. And you don't see
like
many
Andre
of those.
Miller. Do you remember Andre Miller?
I do remember
He kind of
Andre
reminds me
Miller.
a little bit. He's like a slightly more athletic Andre Miller, in my opinion.
He is, and that's what I like about him. He's so poised. He's so poised. He very rarely gets out of character. Defensively he's still growing, but you can say the same thing about several Nuggets players on this team. So I won't ever, harp on that too much. But I really like what he brings to them offensively. He just brings just like this smooth pace to where he doesn't get frazzled too much. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that he built his confidence up in the G League. And it allowed him to see that I can play at this level. I can do it. And when he stacked, game by game, brick by brick, and then, it was, 2 points and 3 assists here and, 5 points and 2 steals there. He was like, man, I'm showing myself I can get there. And I think he is. But to answer the response you opened with regarding Jalen Pickett, where do we find minutes for him? I don't think it'll be hard. I don't know if you remember this press conference or not. It was one of the first 5 games of the season. Michael Malone was talking about a private conversation he had with Russell Westbrook. And he says, Russell Westbrook, I just want you to communicate with me, my man, in regards to the times you're feeling tired and the times you need a break. Just communicate with me. Just let me know when you need some time, man. And because I understand you've been in this league for a long, long time, but I want to protect you for the playoffs.
That was
And
a
I think that
back-to-back in Toronto and Brooklyn. I
it
remember
sure
that.
was. It sure was. And the time has come. The time has come.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great point. And maybe that's where Malone just kind of has to save the player from himself a little bit in that sort of instance. And dude, also, Jamal Malone said Jamal Murray's going to be kind of this knee thing is just going to kind of be something they're going to have to deal with throughout the season. So you could
Yep.
also make the same case for Jamal Murray as well. If Russ is good to go, all right, Jamal, here's an off night for you. Jalen, you're in there type of deal. So speaking of Jalen Pickett, KJ, let's go hear from Jalen. He spoke with the Nuggets media in the locker room after the game.
Yeah, I've had a rough, last year, and you gotta just love that, being able to go through some challenges, find things that you're good at after such a successful college career, coming here and just basically starting over. It was tough at first, and then just kind of fell in love with the grind and just getting back in the gym and seeing where I could take my game. I would like to say Jamal. He did a great job of just me and him played ones a little bit last year, so he's seen I had a little bit of game. So he was just always telling me, I'll get a chance, I'll get an opportunity. He also told me he missed like his first like 20 shots or whatever it was from three. So he was just like never stress it, just keep playing. I'm a good player. Definitely. Some guys out right now, so I was coming in early, and he's been just throwing me in there all year and just playing off of Nicola finding me open shots and stuff like that. So when you see a couple shots go down, kind of gives you confidence to keep going. How important is confidence for a player in your position? Definitely. It's basically the most important thing because you come in there and you might only get 3 minutes one night, 2 minutes the next night. So you got to put in that work. So when you get a chance to show what you can do, it's a successful moment. And then sometimes when you don't play as well as you could, it gets really tough on you. But you just got to keep going and keep grinding. Have you changed any of your habits? Yes. So I work out, a couple of times a day, and what I really worked on over the summer, basically after summer league is keeping my elbow close to my body on my jump shot, especially my
Mm-hmm.
shot. It was a little out last year, and especially in like summer league, it was really out. So I'm really trying to keep it nice and tight and keep the ball straight on line.
Is that something you noticed or coaches were helping you with?
We actually Mike Penberthy, he's like the shooting coach. So me and Zeke went out there to like LA, and that's really all I worked on. Right in front of the rim, keeping it real tight, and then we did some drills on that, and then worked on movement and building up. So that's what I was doing.
Okay, so there is a little bit of
Wow.
Jalen Pickett. Yeah, just your reaction to Jalen there, KJ.
Man, I love everything that Jalen Pickett had to say, man.
Is he 24 or 40?
I mean, my goodness, this dude's maturity is just out of
Yeah.
control. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I love this about Jalen Pickett. He talked about his confidence growing and how it's the most important thing of, just not just in sports, but darn near in life. You can't do anything without confidence. He talked about changing his habits. He talked about staying the course. He talked about working out, getting better. And most importantly, he never gave up. He never gave up. There were moments where he went through some dark days based on what he was describing during this presser there, where he was like, I don't know. I don't know. Internally, he was feeling like, I don't know. And he was able to get around some guys that helped him understand, take advantage of every opportunity. And I promise you, it will pay off. And that's what I love about Jalen Pickett. He's one of several Nuggets players that, if we're being extremely, extremely brutally honest, they could have thrown in the towel because it looked like Malone had given up on him. And Jalen Pickett is a redemption story where it should give young players who don't know their role a hope that if you just keep going and if you stay the course and if you don't give up and if you just continue to dig deep and ask the questions and get around the star players and ask for advice, that if they see the work that you're putting in, at some point it has to come to fruition. And Jalen Pickett is a great testimony, man.
Yeah, and if it's not here, it could be somewhere else, And Zeke Naji, same boat. I mean, just a
Yep.
week or two ago, Zeke talked about how he was still working his ass off. Who did Jalen just mention there he was working on a shot with?
Zeke
Naji. So, and one other thing to add to this, KJ, Malone mentioned in his post-game presser talking about Pickett, and you could throw Zeke in there too, but Malone was specifically asked about Jalen Pickett. He said the culture that, and I've talked about this a lot because I've been around this team for damn near a decade now, and I have talked about how special their culture is. Now, I'm obviously not around other NBA teams, but from what I've heard from other people covering other teams compared to the Nuggets culture, it's one of the elite locker room cultures in the NBA. And that's a huge testament to Michael Malone. And Michael said after, it's not just him, it's all of the teammates. Joker, Jamal, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, all the star players, they all support these guys. They supported Zeke Naji in his dark days. They supported Jalen Pickett. They supported Julian Strawther the other night when he shoots 1 of 8 and looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
Malone basically was saying that a big part of the reason why these guys, to your point, aren't giving up or throwing in the towel, which they easily could have, is because of their teammates helping them along the way, encouraging them along the way. So, hey, man, like as much credit as you give to the individual players for putting the work in and having that mindset, I think a lot of credit goes to the culture that Malone and the organization has built with this team, because it would be a very easy thing to do to give up on. I mean, I saw a story literally tonight. I was going to talk about this where Kevin Durant is talking about how toxic the Suns locker room is. You can't compete and you cannot win in an environment, in a milieu like that. And that's why I talk about the Nuggets culture so much, because it really is important. And you're seeing why it's important with guys, specifically Zeke Naji and Jalen Pickett, when they have injuries. They haven't played hardly at all this year, and they're able to come in and contribute.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And to your point, in life, our greatest success is built around a culture that we are able to thrive in. Like, I'll give you a perfect example.
Yeah, you can say that about any work culture, right?
You,
Absolutely.
you really can, and I'll give you a perfect example. So our radio culture that we have at Altitude Sports Radio, I keep trying to explain to people, it is so fun. It is so lighthearted. Everybody comes to work with the number one priority being having such a great time. And I keep trying to explain to people that I just turned 27 a couple of days ago. For the rest of my life, and I believe I got at least 50 plus years of life left. For the rest of my life, I don't know if I'll ever work in a culture that is as great as Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. And that says a lot about the people we have. Jalen Pickett will probably say the same when he looks back on his career and he looks at how the Nuggets continue to just walk him through the tough days. They never gave up on him. Malone's office door was always open if he needed to talk. Jamal Murray was like, hey, man, I missed my first 20 shots. And my first 23s. And, it's just that constant camaraderie of like, hey, I'm giving you all that I have. We're talking about the organization. They're giving you all that they have. And the least you can do is, if we're continuing to invest in you and we're telling you we're not giving up on you, just meet us halfway. And Jalen Pickett has put in the work, and he has the love for the game, and he has the desire to want to be great. And I think that cannot be taken away from you, regardless of how tough the times are. Like he said, when you get 3 minutes, it's tough. When you get 5 minutes, it's tough because you need a little bit of a longer leash to really show all that you have. But he learned the hard way that if I don't give all that I have with these 5 minutes, I'll never get to 15. I'll never get to 25. I'll never get to 40.
Yeah, Tom Brady tells a really cool story, KJ, about his early on in his career with the Patriots, where I think he started out as like the fourth string quarterback, right? And he would get one rep in practice. That was his rep for the day. And, it said it took him a little while to figure out, like, his mindset slowly became, okay, well, if I'm only getting one rep, that rep's going to be perfect in every facet. I perfected that rep. Then it became 2 reps. Then my goal was to make those 2 reps perfect. Then it became 5 reps. Then it became 10 reps. Then he's the backup. And then he's the starter. So that really is a great mindset that the team has built. And last thing before we get out of here, you did mention the G League. And, you were talking about Jalen Pickett really got his confidence going in the G League. Dude, he was ripping it up in the G League. I don't know if everybody listening was paying attention to that, and I'm sure a lot of you were. He was the leading scorer in the G League for some time this year. Talk about getting your confidence up.
He was averaging a triple-double.
He was averaging a triple-double, and people are like, it's the G League, but that's not the point. The point is that those are still grown-ass men, okay? And it's better competition than college basketball. And you're right, man. Like, I really didn't, think of it that way, but that – you kind of laugh off the G League. Now, granted, it used to be the D League, the developmental league, and then Gatorade sponsored it and it became the G League, which is fine. But it really was like the D League, the old D League. I mean, it used to be looked at as a joke. If you got sent to the D League, it was basically like, this guy can't play. But it has been cool to
have been playing YMCA ball.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you might as well go over to EuroLeague or play in China or Australia, the Australian professional, something like that. But it's been cool to see and I credit the NBA in this, they have gotten the G League to the point where it's not just an afterthought sort of deal. No, these guys are going down there and a lot of these guys are refining their games and then coming back to the pro game, and you can see the improvement. Hockey's been great at this for forever. Like Mikko Rantanen, I know he's not an Av anymore, but he plays 9 games his first year in Colorado and then goes to the AHL, which is the NHL's G League.
Right.
Plays the rest of the season there. And the next season he comes back and looks like a completely different player. So it is cool to see that the G League is working out. I mean, dude, we're getting to the point where you're seeing guys go to the G League Ignite and not even bother with college.
Yeah, right.
And I think Scoot Henderson, I believe, was with the Blazers here tonight. He was second overall pick. He went straight to the G League. Now, you could make an argument like what's better for the game. I would say it's better to showcase your stars in college and build up hype. That's why I was really glad Cooper Flagg went to Duke and not the G League Ignite.
Agreed.
But from a marketing perspective, I do think college is the better route for as far as the NBA goes, because like you already know who all these guys are by the time they get to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But at least the G League is showing now where it's to the point where it has shown the ability to develop these guys in a way where they can come into the pros and produce. That's been a really significant development over the last 5 or 6 years, in my opinion, in the NBA. A positive development.
No, agree 1,000%, man. And that's why the NBA has to continue to take the development serious. Like, I don't think the G League Ignite is a bad thing. But it's the equivalent of like a bus driver with a cheeseburger. You hope he's panning the camera correctly so you can get your tape filmed in high school. Like, that's kind of what I think of when I think of the G League. Like, seriously, man. That's why
cheeseburger.
Dude, that's what I think about when I think about the G League, man. So, like, the G League, they come a long way, but they got a long way to go. And basketball, the money's already been poured into college. It's already been poured into college. And so the landscape is there for guys to develop under real.
By who, though? Who's pouring the money into college? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious. Like, what money is being poured into college?
Oh, the boosters.
You're just saying by the colleges themselves?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
just like
okay.
by the colleges themselves. Like,
well, so that's even better. Then the NBA doesn't have to spend money on developing these guys. They're letting the colleges do it.
I agree, but as you well know, the convoluted issue here is going to be NIL. A lot of guys don't want to go to college because they just want to play ball. And then
dude, I get what you're saying, but those are only like the top 1% of college basketball players and college football also. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, but the majority of these guys are not going to get the NIL opportunities that the top, 20 players in college in their respective sports get. So that's where I'm kind of we'll see how that goes.
But that's what the NIL trust fund was created for.
Oh, so like revenue sharing?
Yes.
Yeah, and I fully support that. I mean, I'm happy to divvy that up and help some of these other guys out. But let me ask you this: Do you ever think that the NFL will have a league kind of like the minors in hockey, the G League in basketball? Because the minors or the hockey has college in both, with basketball and hockey, they both have the college option, which is a legitimate option. But the NFL, their only developmental league is college football. Now, some guys have tried the XFL and the AFL, and is it the XFL back this year?
Yeah.
I would be curious to see if the NFL would ever figure out a way to get a developmental league going that's not college football, that actually works, that actually starts to churn out some guys. Man, I don't know how they do that.
Well, the truth of the matter is it already is here. It's called the UFL. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just refuses to pull his head out of the clouds and just let the NFL fund this league and take the pressure off of him financially. And all he has to do is be the commissioner over the NFL Development League. Like, it's so simple, but too much pride and ego is in the way. And they just won't allow themselves to be able to just go under the NFL umbrella. Dude, you're never going to be more popular than the NFL. Your ratings will never even touch or sniff the NFL. Nobody knows your players. Just stop. And the NFL
he wants it to be a league that is eventually a league that is competing with the NFL. That's sort of on par with the NFL. He doesn't want to be the developmental league.
The NFL has been around for over 100 years, man. So I don't know what else to tell you. It's
never going to happen. I think it would be more successful if they did take the route of a G League or the AHL in hockey, to where the reason that the AFL and the XFL and whatever the Rock's doing right now isn't successful is because hardly any of those guys are ever even going to sniff the NFL. Whereas the G League, you've got guys being drafted high in the draft out of these developmental leagues. I mean, not only do you like have stars coming out of it, but like all of these other leagues that are trying to compete with the NFL. I mean, dude, you'll get the best player in one of those leagues, maybe gets a practice squad tryout. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. So it will be interesting. Now, it's going to take time because the NBA's D League, their old D League, now the G League, like I said, to start, it was kind of the same thing. But over time, it's gotten to the point now where you can send a guy like Zeke Naji, you can send a guy like Jalen Pickett down there, and it's going to help them be better NBA players.
Yes,
and I think we're starting to see that come to fruition this year.
No, I couldn't agree 1,000. I couldn't agree more. I agree 1,000%. Listen, if you want to ever just test the fruit, man, it's happening right before your eyes, man. So, the fruit of the labor is here. The development has been working. And at the end of the day, there is no greater example that the development is working than Christian Brown, who's not getting enough conversation for most improved player of the year in the NBA.
Yeah. In fact, let me look up those odds here real quick. What are the odds right now? Because I'm with you, man. He has been, like I said, KJ, I've said this all season, and we've had our little disagreements on it. I think you've agreed for the most part, and you've pointed out specific like things defensively that KCP is better at than CB. I'm telling you what, man, Christian Brown, he has been an upgrade over Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, just overall. I mean, and I did not see that coming. And this is not a slight to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at all. I just think that's how good Christian Brown has been this year. He's among the league leaders in points in the paint. He's among the league leaders in fast break points. He's shooting the three ball at a pretty decent clip. The guy's been unbelievable.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's shooting on the season north of 55%. And he leads the league for shooting guards and dunks on the season. Total dunks.
Wow.
So, I mean, Christian Brown, all the stats are there. The proof is in the pudding. The Nuggets are sitting top 4 in the West. They could easily be number 2 when it's all said and done because you can see them kind of making their move right before our eyes. They're making their push right now. And so I don't see what's stopping Christian Brown from being most improved player of the year outside of some bogus voting from somebody who shouldn't be qualified.
I just pulled up now this is according to oddssharks.com, so maybe it's different on other sites. And this is as of February 1st, okay? But CB was still having a great season up till February 1st. They don't even have him in the top 10. Norman Powell is leading the odds to win most improved player of the year, followed by Cade Cunningham, Tyler Hero, Evan Mobley, Amen Thompson, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, look, these guys should be on the list. The fact that Christian Brown is not
even
the top
Norman
10
Powell,
on this is insane.
Norman Powell has been in the league for like 20 years. Like you can't get more improved than
yeah, if you're 30 or older, you should be ineligible for that award.
No, seriously, man. It is the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard.
Wow, that's insane. That's insane. I'm trying to find these are all outdated, but that was the most recent one I could find. Not even on the list. Unbelievable. But hey, man, look, at the end of the day, who cares? Like, as long as he's playing the way he's playing and the Nuggets have success in the playoffs and can compete for another title, who gives a shit?
Hey, that's just the truth. That's
where I stand. All right, KJ, we'll let you go, man. Great stuff as always, and appreciate you hopping on the show. 7 wins in a row for the Nuggets. Oh, one quick thing. Malone did say, and I did not know this. This is fascinating. After the game, if the Nuggets are able to beat the Blazers again on Wednesday, they're going to have the same record at the All-Star break that they had last season, where they ended up winning a franchise record 57 games. I mean, imagine me saying that in like middle of December this year, that the Nuggets at the by the All-Star break would have the exact same record they had at the All-Star break last season en route to a franchise record setting 57 win season. That's wild.
If I knew if I knew then what I know now, I would have put like a bet down with you, Dan. I would have been like, bet, just watch the Nuggets overcome the odds. But I'll be lying if I said I knew that in December. In December, man, I was about as nervous as any fan in Nuggets Nation, man, because
You're that guy in Vegas that's always like that next spin on the slot. I'm gonna hit the jackpot. I just know it.
That's me. That's
Yeah.
me. Just keep putting coins in the machine. About 100
I saw this
times
granny on
something
there.
has
She
to
spun it
happen.
like I said. This granny just did like 500 spins. It's the next one. I'm telling you.
That's how you have to look at it, man. You just have to think to yourself, I'm already here. Okay? My
Yeah.
luck can't keep running out.
Somebody's going to win this.
And I just want it to be me.
All right, KJ, we'll let you go, buddy. Great stuff as always. Appreciate you hopping on.
I appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you.
All right, there he goes. KJ Granderson, everybody. Awesome stuff there. Yeah, that's actually pretty surprising to me that Christian Braun is not even, I mean, this is according to oddsharks.com. I don't know if, let's see if DraftKings has anything. This is just scores. We'll see if that changes throughout the season, but like I said, who cares? CB has been phenomenal this year. And if that can help the Nuggets have success towards down the stretch at the end of the season and into the playoffs, that's all that matters. So excellent win for the Nuggets tonight. Like I said, 146-117 is the final. They've won 7 games in a row. They're looking to make it 8 straight before the All-Star break. How fantastic and how big of a morale boost and confidence boost would that be for this Denver Nuggets basketball team heading in to their week off for the All-Star break? So good stuff. We'll be back on Wednesday night for another round here at Ball Arena of Nuggets and Blazers. We will talk to you then right here on Altitude Sports Radio.